Primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core. World. News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright side of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondak News in the Core World News, your whole news show providing in-depth coverage of the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Now, the news segment rundown for April 13th, 2023. Fistful of Beskar. Kyber Crystal Comics Corner. But first, this news.
All right, thank you very much, Grex. It is so good to be back again. We just did one of these a couple days ago, but it is Mandalorian time. Can't wait to talk about this latest episode, and also getting right into. We're finally going to catch up on some High Republic. We're going to talk about the Blade, a comic book series in the High Republic about
Blade cuts.
Our man Porter Engel, the Blade cuts. So stoked on that. First, we do have some news, as Grex mentioned. Grex is already tail lights. He's out of here.
As always, the beaches of Gazadrel today.
Yeah.
You guys know.
Well, that's good for him. That's super good. So there was a couple bits and bobs left over from Star Wars Celebration last weekend that sort of came in after we recorded. One little tidbit is 6 or 7 years until the Filoni movie. Kathleen Kennedy said that. So a little bit longer than I think we were talking about 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, I thought for sure that was going to be the first one out of the gate, kind of. But that's fascinating. That means there's a lot of road still to go in the Mandoverse.
We were going to spend an extra 30 minutes last pod talking about a possible Thrawn series where you could get, a larger, insight into his life and what's going on there, and really double click on what his past was like and what he's doing now in the story and sort of his perspective. I think that can be great. So, I mean, if they could do other series that basically connect those, get us to that 5-year, slate. So I don't know. I feel like they could do it. They could pull it off.
Yeah. They could just keep stuffing new shows in there. It feels like they already have like 3 studios working on Star Wars projects simultaneously all the time now. There's Andor's running right now. They're finishing up Ahsoka. It must be in like post. They're shooting Acolyte right now. It's like, how many studios do they have?
Right.
But I love it. And
Rosario Dawson was asked about season 2 of Ahsoka, and she gave like probably is the studio answer, but she's like, depends on the reception for season 1. But like, I'm like, does it? Because if you're going to do a movie in 6 years, like, are you just going to do an Ahsoka series and then nothing for 5 years and then bring it? Like, it's that, or like you said, Grant, like they got to like roll out all these other series. Like a Thrawn series now does seem possible. A Rogue Squadron series seems likely at this point. You got to fill that space.
Yeah. Plus skeleton crews out there floating around. I don't think anything's for certain though, man. Like, honestly, like they've pulled the rug out from under us on feature films many times.
Oh, for sure.
Well, what's interesting here is I think it's quite daunting what Filoni and Favreau are setting out to do, right? Is like they're basically doing the like Zahn extended universe. They're basically embarking upon Heir to the Empire and trying to create that and bring in all of Star Wars and the old EU and Legends and new canon and all that and everything that's currently happening. And I feel like that's going to be a lot to do. And then to get a movie out of that, I think you're going to have to do a lot of table setting like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, we have to get Han, Luke, and Leia in the story somehow. And like, for me, I need a couple things in Heir to the Empire to happen. I need like Leia and the Nogri and like the Lady Vader stuff. Like I need that to happen. Like that is so
I
cool
forgot. Thank
like,
you for reminding me, Grant, that the Nogri started in Heir. I couldn't remember where they came about, but boy, the Lady Vader and Nogri stuff is so good.
It's very interesting.
Part of me also wonders.
Han's great in that book.
They use Han so well. So, part of me wonders now if like Heir to the Empire is a trilogy, right? And so if you're just going to do one movie to finish it up, I wonder if you start telling some of that storyline in these series, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could be all manner of things coming down the pipe. We do know actually another little bit of news that came through is that Filoni and Favreau confirmed that they consulted with Timothy Zahn regarding Thrawn. And you know, they didn't say much more than that. I'm kind of hoping it's ongoing because it seems like Thrawn's going to be touching a lot of series and a lot of stuff. Obviously, we're going to get more into this when we get into the, you know, Mando episode, the spies.
It's
soon,
like the interim war, right? Was with Thrawn between the Galactic Civil War and
the first and
trilogy.
second Galactic Civil War.
Right. Yeah. What is that war called? With the First Order, basically, or what do they call that war? I forget.
They call it the
Resistance
rise of
versus-
the First Order, and then
Right.
But the thing is, they were rising, but they never arrived.
Yeah, they never.
Yeah, they rose but never crested.
Yeah,
really got
they
there.
did not
Yeah.
climax. They're the Blue Order. Yeah, no, they never. They never.
really
They
think
never
about
made it
color.
to the final order, right?
They never finished.
Yeah, they never finished. Oh,
Oh
yeah.
boy,
All
let's
right.
keep moving. Let's go before we get an E.
And anyways,
The dark side is strong.
in other news, Star Wars is bringing Crawl back for their feature films. How do you feel about
Oh,
that,
right.
guys? Crawl coming back.
Greatest thing I could ever hear.
Oh
That was
wow,
wonderful.
Oh wow, Grant and I are on opposite sides.
Oh, let's go. Let's
Oh,
hear
wow.
it, guys.
I'm a
Let's hear
big
it.
fan of Crawl.
So I will say, if the Daisy Ridley movie, if the Rey movie is episode 10, it should have a crawl. If it's not episode 10, there should not be a crawl. I kind of liked that
100%, it's called episode 10.
Then it should have a crawl, and I'm happy.
1,000,000%.
100%, huh?
It's so marked.
Wow, I love how confident you are.
Yeah. I'd give it 20%.
I'm gonna meet you guys in the middle. I feel like I'm doing that right now a lot, but I feel like it. I mean, if you're gonna tell more, Jedi Order, it is a Skywalker story, right? She is Rey Skywalker. It is part of the saga. If it's part of the saga, then call it episode 10.
How could you exclude it from the saga? She's Rey Skywalker.
But I kind of like this precedent that we're setting. Is like maybe we don't need to. We continue the chapter storytelling, right? The episodic storytelling, but don't bind it by trilogies, right? Maybe you can't tell a 10 and then maybe tell 11, 12, and a 13, or an 11 and a 12, or 11, 12, 13, 14, like whatever a story requires.
I think Thrawn is going to be a bigger deal than we're thinking because they're labeling him heir to the Empire. They're using the exact text.
Yes. Yeah. They name checked it.
They
title
just title
checked it,
him,
yeah.
label him. You know, he is the heir to the Empire. Rey is also, in a kind of technical sense,
Heiress to the Empire, yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like, is this
yeah.
not beckoning for another 3 films of just like them duking it out for like who's to take over whatever this
I love
massive
that.
military industrial complex is that's going to exist no matter what, essentially? I don't know.
Well, I love it and I hate it. So
Yeah.
here's why I love it, because I think that's a brilliant observation. I never thought. I was like, you're absolutely right. He's titled heir of the Empire, yet she is technically the heir of the Empire.
Technically.
I really don't think they're going to kill off Thrawn. I think they learned from their mistake. I talked about it last week. They learned from the mistake from the old EU. The reason I'm not a big fan of that is that does that mean like we get more Empire stuff in episode 10 and more like Stormtroopers? Because I'm
That's
kind of
what's hard
done with
about
it.
Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind it in Mando because but like, can we
That's
move
why back
on?
in
Yeah,
time
let's move
is-
on. Yeah.
That's why Back in Time is sort of there's an incentive for that for me, because I feel like we could do, you know, riders on horseback, like allude to like Camelot and really get like fairy tale with it, and it could just, the war could look a little bit, it could be more like, you know, little ground skirmishes and things like that, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be these elaborate sort of like space battles, although those would be there too. It's just that like, let's focus on like the battlefield and the maneuvering. Like some of my favorite things in war movies are like the maneuvering on the battlefield, the actual like strategies.
I wish
That
they could
stuff's
bring
so
the
cool.
Zahn level of strategy to
the
live
Zahns.
action, because I didn't really feel the strategy in Rebels. I mean, I felt the like art professor Thrawn, but like the like really minute tactics, like
was not there.
There wasn't there.
Not like the books.
I feel
The
like-
books are great.
Not like the books. Yeah, that's all the books are. It's like military.
We're
tactics.
seeing it, and we'll get to it. We're seeing it in Mando, whether it's Thrawn or not doing these things. They at least are playing around with tactics in that show, which I'm appreciating. Like the one of the earlier episodes in the season where they kind of pulled Bo-Katan and Dindjarin off, and then the other TIE fighters, and then what happened in this episode. So it feels like at least maybe we'll see it in live action. What I was just thinking about too is if Grant, if they do this episode 10 where it is like the two heirs battling, I don't know, maybe episode 10 heirs to the Empire, plural, is that maybe I just don't want to see another Star Destroyer in the sequel trilogy era. Enough. Like maybe we can do something else, but maybe at the end of whatever happening is this, he goes back to the Chiss, and maybe so it's just the Chiss.
What if the movie's called The New Empire?
Yeah, episode 10, The New Empire. Yeah,
well, they've already labeled the
Chiss
era
Empire.
the New Jedi Order, so it would be tough to call the movie New Empire, but it could be. I don't want to neg it. That's a good idea. That'd be wild.
Yeah.
Well, again, I don't know how you do Star Wars without stormtroopers and sort of the ridiculous sort of like
ships.
Yeah, I don't know.
They gotta find a way.
Yeah.
If Star Wars is gonna last like generationally, we gotta find
just put
other
Doug
things.
Chang in a room with his boys and girls that do design and just come up with something. Their designs are amazing.
Yeah.
It seems impossible to me to be able to like sort of mimic something as iconic as a Star Destroyer, but like they can do it. They've done it before. So, I mean, they brought us Lucra Hulk like battle droid starships. Like those things are like amazing. Yeah.
Doug Chang.
Yeah. He's the only guy I remember his name, but
it's like Ralph McQuarrie, Doug Chang. It's hard to trust the design of Star Wars with anyone else. They've defined it in such a wonderful way.
But they get a bunch of pros that get it. Like they'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm ready for something fresh in the sequel trilogy. That's why I'm kind of hoping it's not going to be episode 10. I want them to turn the page and pronounce that they're going to be doing something new. That's
the problem with relying on legacy is you're relying on legacy design at that point. And I think what was fun about the prequels is they embarked on something wholly new, and that's interesting to me. I almost want to see that again in a fun way. But the High Republic's that. I mean, there's a lot of new design in that era. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to keep us moving here because we obviously want to talk about this episode. We're like, anyways, Thrawn, though. Yes. So the last one, actually, it's not really an announcement because we announced it last week before the official announcement, based on a solid guess. Bad Batch season 3 is confirmed. However, what we weren't bold enough to pronounce was that it's going to be the final season, which I think is nice, tight little 3-season arc there. That's great.
Yeah. I really almost said it last week. I know I don't get credit. I'm not taking credit. I'm mad at myself for not doing it. I really figured something about me just said I don't know. I think this actually ties into why I think we're definitely going to get, the Mando movie, whether it's 5 or 6 years from now. And it's just because Filoni is Star Wars right now. And I feel like the only reason Bad Batch is getting a 3rd season, and this has nothing to do with the quality of it, is because of Filoni. The other reason we got a final season of Clone Wars, not only, but one of the big ones is Filoni, right? These are his babies. And I think the Bad Batch that we talked about is amazing. The quality is there. But at the same time, I know Disney in general is trying to pare things down. They are really overspending on all these series. They've maxed out the number of subscribers. And I'm sure that executives at Disney's looked at the Bad Batch, said, this is great. This is getting us 0 new subscribers.
That's very negative of you, Adam. Yes. I'm surprised to hear that from
you. I don't know. I think there probably is a metric for sort of building out the Star Wars ecosystem. Like that page on the Disney Plus streaming service, and that sort of getting more clicks.
Maybe, but let's look at this.
They also got to keep us around too. If there's not new, Star Wars content,
But there's a lot. But is there anyone, do you think, realistically, who said, "Oh, now I'm going to get Disney Plus because of Bad Batch," or "Now I'm leaving because Bad Batch is canceled"? I just don't see it, to be honest. But that's nothing against Bad Batch. I think it's just the reality of the people who are subscribing. But here's the good news: is I feel like it's talent, right? They want to keep Dave Filoni around because he is talented, and so it's great that I think he's using this to say, fine, but I want another season. I need to wrap up my story. Give me one more season. And they gave it to him, which I think is great.
Interesting. I mean, I have an entirely different take on it. Because I think it's the opposite. And actually the animation isn't, we talked about it a little bit last week because of that interview with Filoni. The animation kind of operates on its own now. I mean, first of all, we know they always get better. They just keep getting better. So whatever Filoni's done over there to set people up to succeed is working. The animation gets better. Like, it seems like a very slick operation. And I know animation generally is really expensive because it takes so many bodies, so many, hours of work to make those things come together. But we know that they greenlit another Tales of the Jedi, and they came to him asking for it. I think they like having the animated series. It's something that they can produce in parallel.
They're like, "What are you sketching over there?"
Yeah,
Dave?
serious.
Can we see that sketchbook?
And if he shows it to him, if he's dumb enough to show it to him, they'll be like, "All right, give me 24 episodes," and he's like, "Oh,
But I guess that's my question: is like, how much of that is them wanting animation, and how much of that is Dave Filoni wanting animation?
I think it's them. That's my point, is that I think it's Lucasfilm really the force behind wanting the animation. I think, as much as like, yes, it's not, people aren't being like, Bad Batch, I'm signing up to Disney Plus. It's like an accessory.
Yeah, they should be. By the way.
They should be. But yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I think it's an accessory. All those, all the animations are accessories. It's for the hardcore fans that just want content. They can produce it in parallel. It's probably relatively cheap. I don't think it's 10 million an episode like Mandalorian is.
Good point.
It's filler.
Yeah.
And I think any solid animation they can create, they're going to pump out there. We do have we haven't talked about it, but there's and I don't even have the name of it. It's like Forces of Destiny. No, it's not. They have animation streams for young fans, right? So there's one.
I have it because I was just looking up Young Jedi
Adventures, right? And it's High Republic.
That's coming out May 4th.
Is it High Republic era?
It is High Republic era, and the reason why. So this is part of what I was thinking, but I will say before I start where I came out negatively, I think you and Grant have swayed me on this. My heart grew 3 sizes today. But I think you're right. I think it is a lot about having content, right?
They got to keep us around, It's not all about signing us up.
They do. They got to keep us around. Not that we're going anywhere, but I think you're right. I think the other thing is the Young Jedi Adventures is kind of the missing piece, is because part of me is probably like, because I think you're right. Lucas is all about it. Lucasfilm's all about it. I think Disney Plus, the hires are probably like really cost cutting stuff. I think having Iger back is less likely that he's more likely to support content. But the one thing they were missing is, as we've talked about week unto week, is there's Bad Batch is animated and it's wonderful. My preschool age child is not going to watch Bad Batch, right? And mostly because she's not going to get anything out of that. But that's where the Young Jedi Adventures come. This is their first foray into actual like preschool show, which is smart. Like they're really trying to build it all out.
I mean, what do I know about having like running a multi-billion-dollar company? And, and I was really surprised. I was totally wrong about Solo. I didn't think it mattered how well Solo did. I'm like, as long as it broke even, I figured they would just churn out, Lando series or the rest of the Han Solo series or whatever. And that didn't happen. They were a little more gun shy. So there's really no telling what's going to be going on there. But should we get to the main event, guys?
Let's do it.
I'm going to play a little Fistful of Beskar intro music here.
And now, to Fistful of Beskar.
All right, Fistful of Beskar, guys. Did anyone watch Mandalorian this week? Just kidding.
Ooh, yes. That's
the only answer. That's the only answer.
Yeah, I don't know if I watched it so much as experienced it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So much to get into in this episode. Grant, you got our little.
Oh, is there a summary? I think there. Chapter 23, the spies.
Yes,
the spies.
The more Lana drama.
Yeah.
Plural.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just throw that out there.
We'll get there. We'll talk about it.
Directing. Brilliant director. Still, I think my favorite episode of all time is a Rick Famuyiwa episode.
Agreed.
Anyway, summary. Let's just describe the episode. This is sort of long. This is very comprehensive. This is exactly what we've watched. I'm probably missing a few scenes, especially the one where Grief hands Mando the the nice wine, the Tonneray.
That's actually a
wine,
bottle
whatever
of
that is.
tequila.
Right.
Someone found a bottle of tequila
Okay.
that they Greeked for the.
It made me
course
so
it is.
thirsty when I saw
And
it.
of
It's not
course
in
they
the
found it.
Other than that, everything else
Yep.
is in here. All right. All ambient noise is drowned out by the pulse-pounding electronic music as we follow Amnesty Officer Elia Kane through the neon-drenched streets of Coruscant. Kane arrives in a dark, steam-filled alley where an Imperial probe droid emerges and projects a hologram of Moff Gideon. Kane relays the intel that Bo-Katan, Kryze, and Dindjarin have united the Mandalorian factions, dispatched the pirates on Navarro, and are planning to retake their homeworld of Mandalore. Across the galaxy and on the other side of the hollow call, an agitated Moff Gideon enters a meeting with the Shadow Council of remnant Imperial officers who preside over what remains of the shattered Empire. Gideon inquires about Thrawn's whereabouts, to which Captain Pelion tells him that secrecy is imperative to Thrawn's plan to return to the Galactic Fold. Brendel Hux is present as well, and we learn he's busy at work managing his own cloning operation dubbed Project Necromancer. To end the meeting, Gideon requests resources to deal with the Mandalorian threat on his doorstep, and the Council agrees to provide reinforcements in the form of stormtroopers, TIE bombers, and 3 Praetorian guards. On Navarro, Greef Karga gifts Grogu with IG-12, the reassembled remains of IG-11, but now with a pilot seat and buttons to trigger simple speech option commands like yes and no, which are quickly abused by Grogu. At the Mandalorian camp, the 2 factions of Mandalorians, Bo's old followers and the Armorer's covert, begin their rocky integration process and prepare for their mission to retake Mandalore. Bo leads the infiltration mission to the glassy surface of their bombed-out homeworld. After making touchdown and securing the landing zone, the Mandalorians journey across the surface until a large sail barge appears on the horizon and encroaches on their position. Tensions ease as they discover the giant skiff is crewed by grizzled and wary group of Mandalorian night owls. As they travel aboard the barge, Paz-Vizsla and Axe Wolf's game of Mandalorian chess takes a turn towards bad sportsmanship when Paz challenges Wolves to one-on-one combat. The scuffle is quickly broken up by Grogu in the new exosuit. Suddenly, a giant creature erupts out of the planet's surface and destroys the barge in one fell swoop. The Mandalorians are forced to jump ship and flee underground, where they uncover the Great Forge. As they reflect on the devastation of the Forge, a swarm of jet troopers ambush the Mandalorians and draw them towards an underground Imperial installation. And more specifically, a choke point between 2 blast doors. The Mandalorians do all they can to fight off Beskar-clad jet troopers, but Gideon arrives and defeat is all but certain until Bo cuts a hole in the blast door and leads the trapped Mandalorians to safety. Their escape is only possible because Paz-Vizsla makes the ultimate sacrifice, staying behind to stave off the troopers and eventually combat 3 Praetorian guards who tragically kill Paz. The end.
This is the way.
That's
This is
that's
the way.
Oh man. Yeah.
Where to start?
Way to start. That's
There's
There's
a
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
in here. Where do we go? Want to go back? Do we go to Coruscant? Do we go to the cyberpunk scene at the start?
I think we need to.
It's just like sheer genre, like
It was amazing. I think we go back further, and maybe this is, and we go back to the title.
Yeah.
Spies.
All right. You want to start with the title?
Sure.
Let's do it.
I mean, I know you can't really analyze the title without analyzing the whole episode, but the spies.
Yeah. Well, I
Who
mean,
are the spies?
Yeah, Elia Kane is basically
spy.
explicitly doing.
That's a
spy
spy.
Yep. She's
Like, it's
she's
explicit.
the spy.
A spy.
That's a spy.
We've got one spy.
One spy.
Yeah. She's a singular spy.
Like, oh, where are you trying to go with this, Ben? Are you trying to go back to our same theory that we've had for a long time?
Oh, your theory, or
is it
are
our
you-
theory? I feel like the armor theory.
well,
That's my theory.
for a long time. That's
That's
your
Adam's
theory. I'm not claiming that theory because I think you're wrong. But
Really?
That's not our theory. That's your theory.
The armor would be very one note if she's just the heart of the couple.
I'm not.
sorry.
I'm
It's
not
like
defending
another
her for
shoe
a
has to
third
drop.
consecutive episode. You know how I feel about her. I think she is one
I
note.
don't know
She's
why
the wise master.
plot-wise you would separate her from the rest of the group at a very crucial time.
I'm with Adam.
I'm happy to be wrong here,
she's
guys.
evil.
I'm just sticking to my guns.
Yeah.
Did you see Gideon's helmet?
I don't think those were horns.
I was like, they know each other. and
Yeah.
they
Who do you
made
think
a
made
deal
his
that
armor?
Bo-Katan cannot lead.
Who
and
made
that
it?
maybe
Wow.
she'll
You
get
think the
back.
deception is that deep?
I do.
She's
She is
inviting
in the
Bo-Katan
pocket.
to dinner after she's saying she's like
Yeah.
her house is cursed or something.
No,
like
those-
that. Like it was like it's just weird to me. It just the
Moff
behavior is
Gideon
weird.
does not have horns on his armor. It's a crown because he is a narcissist. It's way different.
Oh, I didn't analyze it that deeply. I thought they were just horns.
They're little they're like bat wings. They're like that stick up their flank.
It is very bad. I mean,
cool.
it is very.
I need
bad.
to give you a
Batman.
figure.
No, I entirely disagree.
It was very Batman. When
It's very bat wing to get real specific.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it was like I was
Google that.
like da, 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 da.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think and actually, when I saw that theory online, I was like, oh, everyone, please. But yeah, I mean, but hey, so a lot of people are there with you guys. I don't think it's the armorer. I really just think it's. I mean, technically, they're all spies.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, all the whole Shadow Council is. I mean, it's a council of spies.
they're not really spies because they're not within the New Republic or working you know, in a legitimate area. Illegitimate.
I mean, we have established that Moff Gideon is a spy master. We had that established in the council room, which we're going to spend a lot of time on. But
we should talk
is
about
it not? Did Moff Gideon not look surprised when he was given that information about what happened on Navarro? So it's like this spy is clearly telling him that information, not the armorer. And I mean, but the armorer did send them to the forge, and that is where clearly he has a base established. I mean, that could go for it, but also, I mean, we have precedents laid for why they go on and on about how the forge is the heart of Mandalore, and the armorer has always wanted to see the forge and all that stuff before. There's room to go either way.
But that's why Thrawn can can promise rebuilding the forge. Like there's a whole thing with the forge, right? Like, who can rebuild the forge? I bet Thrawn could. Thrawn would throw money and finance the rebuilding of the forge. Maybe promise.
Yeah. So let me give you an alternate one, Ben, that saves the armor. Because another possibility is you're right, is that Moff Gideon is a spy, and he's a spy for Thrawn. Because everyone's using Thrawn's name, or not everyone, Pelion, we'll talk about him in a moment, is using Thrawn's name, right? And maybe falsely, and really Thrawn's working behind the scenes with Moff Gideon, right? So maybe he's a spy. Maybe. I still think it's the armor.
I think what we discover in this episode is that the Empire has been lying about the planet being too toxic, too inhospitable, and that it's really just a cover up for a secret installation, which is Gideon's base. Gideon's base is Mandalore, and he's well established, and he's gonna have a lot of TIE fighters and troopers and assets to, I think, use against, especially, he requests them in this episode.
We get his list of requests.
Him getting reinforcements.
So actually a couple of mysteries are solved in this episode. One is we know where the fighters on I can't remember the name of it is Concordia, right? No, that's the moon's Concordia. No, what is what's Bo-Katan's planet? It's a
starts with
I or an
Kavala or something.
Kavala. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible for forgetting that. But in that, Cavalli. Feel free to Google that, Adam, while we just murmur to ourselves. It makes for great podcasting.
I'm trying because there's no way.
Can we make sure to just say Kavala?
Yeah. We'll just call that. Anyways, we know where those. Nice. We know where the fighters came from, and how Bo-Katan got flushed out. Oh man, you guys! I'm just thinking about the armor. Or maybe you guys are right. Ugh. All right.
I mean, rebuilding the forge. They dwell on the forge in this episode. They're like Axe Wolves is like, it was like, I was here, I saw it, and I was just like,
it was the best.
The bed.
Axe Wolves has lost every battle.
He just keeps getting his butt kicked.
Sorry, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah. But Ben, don't lose faith about the armor because think how sweet it'll be.
When I'm right.
If you're right. Like, you'll just be able to lord it over us forever.
The other mystery that was solved is the derelict Lambda craft that our man Captain Teva rolled up on. We know why there's Beskar in that ship now, right?
Right. I mean, maybe.
I assume it's the jet troopers.
I assume too. It's the jet troopers.
Jet troopers. His Beskar class jet troopers.
But it depends on timing, right? like what happened first, who helped him forge the Beskar, right? Were the jet troopers created prior to escape or post his escape?
I mean, I feel like
I think you're right.
Geronimoing that or like laying waste to Mandalore was always part of his plan. That is a monster like facility that he had built under the surface of Mandalore. So, I mean, and right near the forge. So, he probably used that to create his own, his own armor. But, I mean, there's got to be more than one armor in the world. The galaxy.
Right, that's true. I mean, she's not the only one. Kavala, by the way.
It is Kavala. Okay, super.
Yeah, sweet.
All right, awesome. So those were two mysteries solved. Sorry, I waylaid us, but thank you for humoring me on that thing.
I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Anyways, the spies. I mean, Kane, possibly armor. Who are you thinking, Ben?
I think it's just they're just being sort of general. The spies. It's it is. I mean, it is curious. They've been sort of singular the whole way, but it's like now we know that there's a spy network out there. We know what's her name is like. It wasn't confirmed before, though. We all guessed it. Episodes ago that Kane was a spy for someone, she wasn't there. I mean, there was a theory that she was acting independently before that. We didn't know for certain that she was actually, whether she was operating on Thrawn's behalf or Gideon's behalf, but this is confirmed.
There is a tonal shift in this episode where it did just enter. I mean, just being titled The Spies, it's entered spy game territory, and it feels like now everyone in the shadow count. It's now like Andor basically. It's like now you're basically double. You're doing double takes on everyone in the Shadow Council, everyone who's in a Mandalorian, everyone who's you're like who like where's the information? Where's the leakage coming from? Like, are they sharing information with the other side? Like, obviously, Amnesty Officer G68 is sharing information. Like
that's why I think it was plural. I just think it's trying to cast out and create that sort of spycraft. Feel to what's going on there. I don't have. There's no one. I'm not like Axe Woves. That guy keeps getting his butt kicked. He's suspect. He's sus. Maybe he's a spy. Like I don't have anything like that.
But like the armor is weirdly absent from a lot of this stuff. Like she'll just appear and just wreck house with her hammer and like just like vanish. And then she's like inviting everyone to dinner, and it's almost
a feature. That's a feature.
There's something else going on here.
Is it her idea to leave, or is it Bo-Katan's idea to leave? For her to leave, I can't remember. Do you remember when she decides to take the wounded Mandalorians?
I forget. I forget whose idea it was. I didn't get there on my rewatch. I don't know. It was one of them. They're like, we have to go, and he's like, "Oh, I'll take you." I mean, the other theory could be that so you called them. Night Owls, Grant, in your preview. I don't know. Like, he recognized the Night Owl insignia, but I'm not sure that was actually his clan. I just call them the.
Oh, it might not be accurate. Yeah, I just did that off memory.
I've been calling them the locals.
I like that.
But they could.
I do have a new theory
spies. I don't know.
Okay.
Because they're like, oh yeah, we'll take you to the forge. We go there all the time. It's awesome. And then it's like.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's like Gideon's
good point. Yeah.
But also like, I feel like what could be fun here is Gideon seems sort of seems to villainize Thrawn, or he seems to treat Thrawn as an obstacle or as an adversary, basically, sort of a nemesis like situation. And I was like he seems agitated that information's not shared with him about Thrawn, and like what's going on with Thrawn, Thrawn's movements. Like his return, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What if the armorer's deal is that she's made a deal with Thrawn to get rid of Gideon? Because she's like, Bo won't do it, Din won't do it. Like, I had to go find this guy who's gonna help me uproot him from the planet. And then like that's the thing is the armorer just makes an allegiance with Thrawn, and it's like, and Thrawn operates in kind of on a new like layer of thought, which is like he basically like might be your ally in certain moments
until it's inconvenient.
Right? Like that's kind of Thrawn's deal. Is like, I'm your ally for 30 minutes, and then we're enemies. It's like crazy. That's like Thrawn's whole thing, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely could be.
I was gonna say, I also wondered if like Gideon's reaction to that Shadow Council or Pelion's discussion of Thrawn was just like, yeah, you put up or shut up, right? Like I think he just does not believe that Thrawn is, if he is being honest and not actually in Thrawn's pocket, I don't think he believes that Thrawn's actually back. Like it's just Pelion using the shadow of Thrawn to get things done.
Yeah, I mean it could be. It obviously it's classic, Empire interpolitics, like bureaucratic politics, right? They're all power hungry, and like they seem really eager to tear down Pelion. All the other warlords are, we're in this scene now. So
Pelion is turning off that hollow call and basically like turning to Thrawn,
absolutely.
right?
He's right there.
That what's happening.
Yeah, no one knows where each other are clearly because he's just like, Mandalorians are a threat. Like, and no one knows. Like, he's telegraphing from Mandalore. Like, that's where his base is.
Right, and now Thrawn having that information will be like, oh, the Mandalorians, like, oh, I know exactly what to do here. Like, we'll just counter Gideon with all this because I feel like Gideon's power hungry, and I think Thrawn is like that's going to be an issue if I'm the true heir to the Empire and someone wants to challenge.
We talked about this last week, and I mean we're talking about it in a little different shape this week, but yeah, it could. Gideon could get trapped between Beskar and a hard place. Like he could be, he could be fighting both the Mandalorians and Thrawn at some point, but
But what's fun about that is it's Giancarlo Esposito, and he's a brilliant actor. And like when we write him into corners, like he's gonna get out of them, and it's gonna be fun.
That's true. You do expect that from Giancarlo, from Gus Fring. I mean, Moff Gideon,
greatest villain of all time. No big deal.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and but I mean that also leads to a larger question, which is, are we going to see Thrawn this season?
Yeah. Like cameo.
Okay,
very
you guys are still holding that candle too. Okay.
Yeah. I think we get a very much similar to Book of Boba Fett coming, blah blah blah, scene at the end. Like I think we just get a.
Ben, what if I double down on the armor theory and I say the armor meets with Thrawn at the very end? Of the season?
Then I'd be extra wrong. But listen, I'm feeling good. I'd be double extra wrong.
I'm throwing my hat.
Yeah, I'm going against it though.
The whole sabak pot.
I talked about this with Jason earlier because he's still in my camp. So I've got one other one.
Really?
Yes. Actually, no. I think Jason jumped to your camp.
Red eyes gleam in shadowy.
Well, he's watching right now. He's live right now with us. So
I think he's with you guys.
Tell us
he's
where
with
he
you guys at this point. I think
just the piercing eyes burning into our souls.
I mean, it's iconic, but don't you think it's like kind of like blowing, like revealing the monster too soon? We just talk about him for a while.
Just the eye?
Yeah, I guess
off-screen dialogue. I need something at this point. You can't just say his name this many times, especially season 2's name name checked again. Now even a character in story is like, where is
this guy? Literally, where is he?
I'm outside watching, and I'm just like,
it is a little meta. Yeah,
it is like a lot at this point. I'm like, there's a lot of
I'm doubling down, and I think that was our Thrawn reveal, was just them talking about it, because it's like we just watched the Ahsoka trailer, but that wasn't in mind when they were writing these stories. So I'm thinking,
like Thanos' first appearance in the first Avengers movie, is it first Avengers movie? Is that the first appearance?
God, it was early. Thanos.
Yeah, something like that. It'll be something like that. It'll be like just a very brief
over his shoulder in silhouette or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, because he goes, "Fine, I'll do it." Sorry, that's Thanos' reveal at the end when Loki. Fine, I'll do it.
That's it. Done.
Yeah,
that's the amount of cameo.
Yeah. All right, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. And I will.
Can we talk about Brendel Hux now? Pelion, huge character from Heir to the Empire. Basically, that ensures they're basically adapting a lot of Heir to the Empire at this point. And it's going to be Pelion. We're going to get Rook again, I think.
Yep. I think so.
So please, Adam.
I want to hit on Pelion a little bit before we hit Hux, because Pelion is huge in the old EU. He basically runs the remnants of the Empire all the way up to Legacy of the Force. Like, he is there through like 35 years, like after the battle of Yavin. He is there constantly. And actually ends up being a pretty good dude, which is the fascinating thing. Like, he actually believes in Yeah, see if we get Grant back.
I lost you for a second there too.
All right.
Yeah, but you're back.
I'm back. So he's a huge part of the old EU. They also have him played by Xander Berkeley, who is a character actor who's been in everything. He was in like 15 episodes of The Walking Dead. He was in the show 24. He was actually in Terminator 2, Judgment Day. So it's a known actor who's like a pretty substantial actor to have for just a cameo. So I think this kind of suggests that he's going to be a major player in one of these series, and that's the other reason to believe that that's really, really important that he's going to be there.
Yeah. So one thing I'd love for both of you guys, I have not read Heir to the Empire in 20 years, and so I've forgotten essentially all of it. I am going to run it back soon. I know Grant just read it, but when you make these references, maybe for me and the people at home, and mostly me, I'd love to sort of know where they are. The Pelion character I had completely forgotten about. So he's his right hand,
which
man
is similar
during this era
to how we see him. Yeah, he's similar in Rebels. He does pop up in Rebels as Thrawn's right hand man. So we definitely do see him in Rebels. We see him here. And in Heir to the Empire, he's his right-hand man. And then he basically is the person who takes over the Empire after Thrawn's death in the end of that series. And is just part of that and negotiates peace with the new rebellion. Doesn't and at some point actually negotiates becoming part of the new Republic, which is fascinating.
Oh, wow. That's right. I do remember
at some
that.
point become part of it, like way like 35 years after. So, it's really interesting.
Yeah. So the scene, like, just to set the table a little bit for everyone, because this is an amazing scene, right? There's only 3 named characters in this secret meeting of the Shadow Council. They're called the Shadow. They call themselves the Shadow Council, which has importance in and of its own. But we have Moff Gideon, right? Clearly from we call it the Mandoverse, but it's the New Republic era. We've got Pelion, who's from Legends. Like, he's just vectoring in out of left field from Legends, but from Legends from this era. So it's like tying in these Legend stories. And then you've got Brendel Hux, which is a character introduced to us in Aftermath, which was the series, and it's bringing in the sequel trilogy. It's fascinating. So in this one room, you just have like 3 different like eras and story arcs and universes colliding. And it's pretty cool. And Brendel Hux is played by, I lost his name, but it's what's his name's real life brother? No way.
Domhnall.
Oh, Brian Gleason. It's Brian Gleason.
Brian Gleason is Domhnall Gleason's real life brother. So they actually got like the family resemblance, which is super funny. Yeah, it's
really cool. So Brendel Hux, for people that don't know, he was introduced to us in Aftermath, written by Chuck Wendig, and his character is he's a terrible, terrible person.
Horrible person.
He's the worst human being
he's a
ever.
Sociopath. Who just, he pretty much takes orphans and like pit fights them, and then like creates a like inner circle. But the only way to get in is you have to kill your like one of your like classmates, but you have to do it so no one knows.
Yeah,
and
that's because he goes to like. That's because he does his business meetings and his offsites with like acolytes from like Exegol.
Yeah.
Like the people he's like nudge talking to at work are just like cultists.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, okay, all right. This is not fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, you read that book, and also, is he big part of the Phasma
he is
book?
the other main character of Phasma. Yeah. And you learn about him a little bit there.
When you read about him, his son actually turned out pretty okay.
Because of Phasma said she'd protect him. Like, she was like almost a maternal figure for that. Like, in a prison sense, like, I don't know. Like,
but it's so true. But like the Armitage
Hux.
Armitage Hux is a horrible person, but like leaps and bounds better than his father.
Big progress.
Which is saying something.
So Brendel Hux was handpicked by the Emperor. He was tasked to his job was raising and training like officers and officers
Right.
and military. But he survived. He had a big task in Operation Cinder, which is like the contingency plan when the Emperor dies. Was Gallius Rax was the person that was running that Cinder.
Oh wow, yeah.
He was, but Brendel
Do you
Hux
think
is part
like
of that.
do you think that was the first sort of like wounding of the Imperial remnant, basically like taking out like Gallius Rax basically died, and he was like the chosen leader basically of the Empire?
A really good question, but I think he was always meant to die. I think that was part of the plan because he went running into the core. His job was essentially to set
the Jakku stuff was like he had to die. Yeah,
his job was to self-destruct Jakku and destroy all of the Empire's fleet and all of the Republic's fleet at the same time. That was like his big thing.
Move.
Yeah. But Brendel Hux survived. He was saved by Ray Sloan. So Ray Sloan is another
who we don't see, who's absent from this meeting.
Yes,
weirdly.
because Ray Sloan saved his life, and she might have. Yeah, and she brought Brendel Hux to heal, and was like, "You're going to work for me." But Ray Sloan's was sent off with the special plans to go to the unknown regions, which I assume is Exegol. Building up the Final Order fleet, and I mean maybe something to do with the cloning project, obviously, to bring back the Emperor.
Is Exegol like the Cayman Islands of?
Yeah, you mean Project Necromancer?
Yeah, I do mean Project Necromancer, which is a little on the nose, don't you think? But
yeah, a little on the nose.
A little bit.
Is this the first time we're hearing about this? Like,
yes,
labeled.
Yes, I just checked it.
Ops project.
Yeah.
The Necromancer is Mandalorian Chapter 23.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That's new canon. Yeah.
And I have to imagine that is dealing with the resurrection of the Emperor.
I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, cool.
I would assume. Yeah. So when Moff Gideon is asking Hux and Paleon, for supplies because they're the most well supplied, you've got Paleon with Thrawn's whole fleet, and then you've got Hux, who represents the Final Order.
Yeah,
essentially, in the unknown regions. So, and all of that fleet massing around Exegol. That's my theory. And I think Hux reports to Sloane, and then, and obviously and the cloning project, if Hux is involved in cloning, it's Project Necromancer.
Yeah,
it's bringing the Emperor back.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, making Snoke.
That's why I say he's probably near Exegol, like him specifically. I think other people are stationed.
Yeah, he might be out there. Yeah,
that's Necromancer sounds like it's happening in one place only.
Right. I mean, based on what we saw in Episode 9, that's where they were doing the experiments. What's fascinating about this, just a quick step back, is that way back when the Mandalorian was starting, Favreau said this story will talk about the beginning of the First Order. Remember he mentioned that way back when, and we were like, through most of season 1, we're like, really? In episode 2, they mentioned like a little bit. We're like, huh.
Yeah.
And boy,
it seemed a long way
by
off.
season 3,
Do you think he had beat sheets all the way to season 4? Like, just making season 1?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, canonically, we're still like 18 years away from The Force Awakens. So we got a minute to go.
This is now like story by committee, though, because the entrance of Thrawn and like how he's going to operate, I imagine there's got to be a lot of sort of creative control over what happens there. You know what I mean? And oversight, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Thrawn. Like,
it's a mega
they built back in the books in such a brilliant way where he's like this ultimate tactician, and you have sympathy for him in the books. You have like a lot of sympathy for him in the books. And I'm like,
he's the main character. You're rooting
he's the
for
main
him.
Character
he's the protagonist.
In all 3 novels.
Yeah.
Anakin gets
in 9 novels, right? Like
Anakin splits a novel with him, but
yeah. But you're still rooting for Thrawn more than Anakin. Anakin survives.
Yeah,
I know. What I love about that novel is like I almost think Thrawn could take Anakin.
Yeah,
like, most of the time I'm like Thrawn with his like little pistols on like his little blasters.
Yeah,
like, he
could
just dive and start firing.
Master strategist, right?
Because you look through Thrawn's eyes, Anakin's nothing but a tool. He's just like, oh, you're a really handy tool to have around that I can manipulate so easily.
Oh yeah, you're so emotional. Let me see how like this could drive your
right?
Stuff like that.
Yeah. yeah, definitely loving all those books from Timothy Zahn that are canon, and then yeah, I'm going back. I'm gonna go back.
Like it makes me want to go reread those Thrawn books. Honestly,
Yeah,
they're like, I know what happens. Like it's a lot of military maneuvering and sort of space battles and
yeah,
detective work, and I'm just like, but I just want it all over again.
yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
fun.
I don't know that thought.
It's a very unique flavor of Star Wars. You only get it
is.
there. Yeah.
It's like it's the Zahn novels and the X-Wing novels are the ones I think do the best of explaining space battles in a way that I can clearly understand and visualize what's going on, and that's why I love those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alphabet Squadron's the highlight for me for space battles.
Alphabet Squadron is really. I mean, it's the spiritual successor to
right. It is a spiritual
the X-Wing series and like Stackpole and stuff. But yeah,
yeah, really good point, guys. Yeah, it's awesome. So the other thing,
the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're 3 minutes into the episode.
I know, but like the council is like
It was
90%
huge.
of the episode for me.
Honest to
And
God.
and I have one more big question for you all, and I don't have an answer for this or opinion. So we know that Brendel Hux is, in this thing, Gideon accuses Hux of being, he's like, no, cloning is your thing, bro. I'm just a spy master. But we know that actually, and Hux accuses him of it. He's like, have you been using Pershing for your own projects?
Right.
And we know he has. So
Yeah.
what the heck is Gideon working on in cloning?
I mean, that's the question that we get kind of towards the end, is that we know, like, maybe we'll just jump to the end for a second, where I talked a bit off air of like, so he name checks it later in the episode. He says by combining, was it Sith, Mandalorian, and cloning. So I have a feeling the troopers in the armor are clones of some kind. I don't know who they're clones of.
Yeah, I mean, they all look
or
the
what
same.
they're clones of. Maybe they're all Boba Fett clones again. Like, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Or
Maybe.
Dindjarin.
Yeah,
clones?
Lobot, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, right? I don't know.
I wonder. He does walk by clones on the way into that meeting. Like he walks by vats of like.
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely still
clones.
cloning facilities at this location too.
Even on Mandalore, there's a clone. It could be like, again, Vizsla. There was talk of him, and like that would be interesting if he makes like a sort of Winter Soldier. That's like.
Oh,
this
that's a good call.
Warrior.
Yeah,
that's such a good call. We are so not done with Vizsla.
Oh, you think? Oh,
we're gonna get a Dark Trooper
Because then it's
version or
Pazvizsla,
Death
like
Trooper
the mountain,
version.
basically.
Yeah.
post Viz. Yeah, that could be. I just had an idea. I mean, obviously, we were not even close to it, but obviously, Dindjarin gets captured. Is he captured because they want to clone him?
Yeah, maybe. Right. Though I don't know why, but yeah, maybe.
I mean, because like, who's the best, man? Like, Pazvizsla is big, and he carries a big gun, and that's great.
Yeah.
But like, the guy who was at the vanguard of all the Mandalorians was Dindjarin.
Yeah, it's Dindjarin. Yeah.
And the guy that defeated Moff Gideon was Dindjarin, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, good point.
Defeated
maybe.
two of his like, what are those?
It's a good way to
Magna
get the
troopers
angel eyes for Dindjarin's Blondie. Like that's it's a good way to do that.
But you raise a really good question there, Ben, because I just, you're so used to watching TV and tropes happen, right? And sometimes when a trope happens, you don't question why it's happening, which is like, why is he alive? Why is Dindjarin alive?
Yeah, why is he even alive?
Are we talking? Hopefully, we're not dealing with some like James Bond level of like, I just want to get the hero to monologue at him. But you're right. But it's Moff Gideon who has to have a plan, right? So you're right. Like he's alive for a reason, and that's really interesting. The idea of like wanting to clone him. Yeah.
I can't think of any other reason why he's alive, honestly. Or unless, actually, that's not true. I can think of like 10 reasons. I mean, he's bait,
how does he
right?
treat?
He really wants. Maybe he still wants Grogu.
He's Grogu bait.
He's still
Grogu
focused
bait.
on Grogu, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you don't understand how important Grogu is.
Well, is that the Jedi part of it? Because because when he's listing the things, right, we don't know what he's taking from Jedi, but is that cloning Jedi, right? Is that where that's coming from, right? It's a combination of cloning Jedi and putting them in Beskar armor.
Right. Maybe he's got Mace Windu semi-alive in a vat somewhere or something.
Oh my god. Maybe they're all Mace Windu clones.
Windu clones. Yeah.
Well, what's going on with Wayland and Mount Tantus in currently in Mandoverse, you know?
Yeah, maybe
Is
that's
Thrawn there right now?
Is
Like,
Tantus still
it's-
live? Are we going to see the end of Tantus in Bad Batch 3? I kind of feel like
I
they're
think
going
it has to go on. I think Tantus has to go. I don't think Tantus can be destroyed in Bad Batch.
not in a world where Thrawn's walking around, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has to be there almost.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to keep it active.
And then that's where the Emperor had been doing cloning projects, so there's probably cloned Jedi there or something.
Right. And Tantus is an EU property as well, right? I know you guys have told me already.
Yes.
But
Yeah, all part of Air the Empire.
And Wayland's EU, which I was dunking on that name, but I was like, oh,
Me too. Yeah.
It's like old EU. Okay, all right.
which one's Wayland? Because I know Hemlock is the guy.
Planet.
Well,
Wayland's
the
the
planet
planet.
that
Okay.
Mount Tantus is on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Ready ho.
IG-12, anyone?
I know. Can we get to ID12?
I heard.
Let's go.
I was in the other room when my
Ben, how
wife
did you handle
watched the scene with like the fruit, and I've never heard her belly laugh at a Star Wars scene in my whole like she that got her good, and that was pretty funny. And you two guys are both fathers. Is this
Right,
your
yeah.
largest nightmare ever? Is that your biggest fear? Is
Oh
that
my
your
God.
infant has a
I mean,
mecha
I'm
suit?
past that.
But it's kind of a reality. A 3-year-old has a mecha suit because they have the strength they don't realize they have, and then you can't rip things out of their hands. I decided today that I was going to take the the sunscreen away from my daughter, who was wanting to spread it on herself, which then led to a 15-minute car ride home of her screaming
times
at me. It was fun. But my point is my wife and I were watching this episode, and never have I watched an episode of Star Wars and said, I feel seen. Right?
Yeah.
But I was watching the episode, I'm like, I feel seen. Like, clearly whoever wrote this thing has a toddler, because like it is like, it feels like your toddler's in a mech suit. It's just amazing. Just the no button, smashing the no button.
Oh yeah,
so good.
I know, and I love just like
Deanne Zellin just piloting it in.
Oh
and being like, no, bad baby, no squeeze,
no squeezy, no squeezy.
So no squeezy,
No
shirts.
That's
going on a
Oh
shirt.
my gosh, those the Anzellans are so money. I'm like, that's the kind of
So
detail
funny.
that makes a Star Wars, you know.
Yep.
But just like on my second watch through, I did like watching the Anzellan climb out of the mech suit. Like they took the time to shoot that and like him like get on the table. I don't know. It was that made it for me. And also it was kind of funny because Grogu loves the candy dish on Grief Karga's desk, and he just like raids the candy dish when he gets to the office.
Talk about how like
That's
Grief
hilarious.
is Grogu's true father.
Yeah.
Grief looks out for Grogu.
Yeah.
Grief's like an uncle,
Yeah.
right? Like just
It's like the best possible father figure.
He's like, oh, let him walk around a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
He stretches legs.
Yeah, but so like it's funny that the Anzellan and Grogu swap places. Like Grogu's like eating candy, and then like the Anzellan climbs out, and Grogu gets in the suit, and the Anzellan starts like noshing candy. I don't know if you got that. He just started smashing candy on the desk.
I totally missed that. I got to rewatch. I will say this was like I remember watching. And Carly, my wife, was ahead of me, where the Anzellan was piloting it, and I was just like, "Oh, so we're gonna have an Anzellan piloting it?" Like it never occurred to me that it was gonna be a Grogu mech suit until it started happening, and I'm like, "No, what is going on?" And Carly's like, "Yeah." Like Carly, her brain was immediate like, "Oh, that Grogu's gonna ride in that thing." But I like. If you had at the beginning of the season when we talked about IG-11 making a return, and then they kind of scrapped that, which was kind of loved that idea of just like, no, we're not going that direction. But you said, by the way, this ends with Grogu riding inside IG-11. I'd be like, that's
it's
ridiculous.
Such a good story idea that it's like you could not.
No, never would have gotten there.
Oh my
in a
gosh.
million years.
This was blown for me by a coworker that's not named Grant. His name rhymes with Smryan, and and I was like, "There's no way they're doing that. There's no way they're doing that." And then I was like, and then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh no."
I love it. I love
You
it.
love it.
I think it's amazing. I want the Black Series figure.
Yes, you do.
I'm obsessed. Like I need everything about this. I need
What's
it.
the end game with this suit?
The yes and no button, just 2 buttons.
Yeah,
right?
just 2 buttons, yes and no. That's
the 2 buttons.
genius.
That's iconic.
I think 2 things. One, I think that's important because it now actually gives Grogu a voice without having to make him speak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? He can say yes or no. I don't think there's necessarily an end game other than it just changes it, right? Of him just being in this pram that scoots along.
Yeah.
It gives him lower agency. I had a journey with this. When I first saw it, I'm like, I hate this. I really hate this.
And
then
need him to stroke Mando's helmet though.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And then 5 minutes later,
slow and awkward.
Right?
Yeah.
yeah. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, nope, I love this. I'm on board. But the scene where the Mandalorians fly him. Did you catch that? Where they grab him
and they fly
him away?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like what is happening?
They like grab him. He just T poses and they just
he's like
Yep.
Yeah, I was
good.
a little surprised about that as well.
Just like the little claws, the little droid claws. Like no, I was just like no. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna weep.
There's part of me just watching him squeeze that fruit is like, oh, is that foreshadowing when he grabs Moff Gideon's head?
Neck.
I was wow. Whenever Adam says one of these off kilter sort of over the top things just out, I'm like, now they need to do it.
Yeah.
Now that needs to happen. Oh man.
Yeah, it would be pretty fun. I mean,
Grogu punching. Grogu going fisticuffs with Gideon on some skywalk.
Well, that's the thing, but he can also use the Force out of that position too.
Yeah, I know. He's pretty OP. If he was a Terrace character,
oh yeah,
yeah, that'd be it.
OP.
Yeah, it'd be way unbalanced. What are you gonna do with that?
So unbalanced.
I was hoping for him to do some heroics at the end of this episode to help save Mando, and I was like, well, I thought we were gonna get a Force choke. I thought he was just gonna choke out Gideon from behind the
How about Mando turning around and being like, "You okay?" as they're running through the maze, the elaborate cave system. I was like, "Wow!" He's looking, turns around, just stays looking eye line, and is like, "You okay? Cool. Yeah. Let's keep going. I've never seen you this tall before.
Yeah,
this is weird. This is super weird. I'm gonna keep running. Bye."
Right?
Yeah. And he's like,
I know. I can only look at you so long before my brain is blown. So I'm going to turn around now. So I have a question. Actually, kind of reminds me that is this the longest we've got in a season? When did the Mandalorian take his helmet off in season 1? Was it the last episode? Was it episode 10? Because he gets injured right at the very end of episode 9, and then he takes his helmet off, and Grogu heals him, doesn't heal him, right? Because
in episode 8 he takes his helmet off to say goodbye.
Oh, okay.
That's the last time he takes his helmet off, and he takes his helmet off before then, obviously, to do the eye thing and in this.
Yeah, but I just mean, so I'm trying to think, is this the longest we've gone in a season of the Mandalorian without the Mandalorian taking his helmet, showing his face?
I think so.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get through a full season where possibly Pedro Pascal was never actually on set?
No, but I think what's enticing, what you're alluding to, is something very interesting for me, which is as an actor, you want to work with other brilliant actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Esposito is a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
It's an honor to work with him and do scene work with him. And I feel like I would want to come in and take the helmet off and do some stuff with Giancarlo Esposito. I think that would be fun.
You guys just gave me an idea, actually. So lock tin foils into attack position.
Yeah.
I love that. So it's he takes his helmet off. It's procedural. Right. And then in the next episode and blah, 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 I think whatever the scene is. And then Dindjarin escapes, but he has to tone again because he took his helmet off and he feels like he needs to take another dip in the waters. And when he does, Mythosaur. And that's how we get back to the Mythosaur under there.
Wait, did you guys think the Mythosaur was the creature?
I did it for a minute. Yes. Yeah, I thought for sure it was going to be, and then I'm like, oh, I guess it wasn't. It was just some other giant beast.
No.
Okay, I guess it's just another. It's bigger than the Mythosaur.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's huge.
Yeah, it's massive, and I feel like at this point, Filoni and Favreau, and I guess we got to lump Famuyiwa in there too, are just trolling us with putting a giant monster in every episode, because there has been one in every episode. Yeah.
If there wasn't creatures in the Famuyiwa episode, I'd be a little upset though, because again, not to get I might get emotional. I booted up Mando the other night and just watched episode 2 of season 1.
Yes.
It's so good.
Still my favorite episode.
Yeah.
And it's so good, and just the creature work is so good, and just the jowl,
really is.
all that stuff is so good. And I just kind of love that little encapsulated story of just Grogu and Din, like very small scale. Like that's what I think he did so brilliantly in that episode. And so I just love, I think having a creature now is like a beautiful homage to that episode, because he did the Mudhorn so well, and like that stuff is so well done and so interesting.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah. I still remember seeing that. I remember watching those 2 episodes because they came out like within a couple days of each other. Do you remember that they dropped like midweek?
Yeah.
Oh, it was, yeah, because Mando was the premiere of Disney Plus, right? Disney Plus went live, and Mando episode 1 was live. And I remember downloading that because I was on an airplane, watching that on the airplane like 5 times in a row because I had nothing else.
Yeah.
And then I remember being in the hotel room like 2 days later when the second episode dropped, and I'm like, I can't believe this is even better. And then sat in my bed and watched it 3 times in a row.
The beginning is like Dances with Wolves too. It's like Kuil is like just like hang tight. The Jawas just want like some food, like trade food with them. That might work, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's just like listen to them. I was like, it was so interesting. It was about just listening, and it was so cool. I just thought the messages were great, and I loved that sort of pared down story.
It's wild going from that, like to think that we went from there to here.
Yeah,
right?
Uniting the Mandalorian factions.
Yeah.
I feel like that didn't hit as hard as I almost thought it would. You know what I mean? Like, I almost think rallying speech, I almost like rousing moment, all the Mandalorians just like war crying, to like doing some large war cry or chant of some kind. You know what I mean? Like,
everyone seemed like,
don't you think that
okay,
should be a
cool.
bigger moment almost? It's just,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think part of what we're seeing is the issue of 8-episode seasons, right? Of just, which is, there's good and bad to that. And also, I will say it again, I think a lot of what's happening this season was supposed to be happening in another show. So I think we're getting a little less time with the Mandalorian plot that we would have gotten if Rangers of the New Republic happened.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe because it's moving fast. You're right. Like I could have could have used a whole episode of the 2 factions coming together and hashing out their differences, you know, like, and like understanding, like, you know, talking about the fact that they're not taking their helmets off, and like having some dissension at first, and then like sort of like talking about the way, and like, you know, not settling it, but like them being like, okay, now at least we understand what the way is. And like,
right. That was one of my favorite. That was religious commentary in that moment too, where Paz is like, hide the children.
Yeah.
Don't let them see this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Don't let them see Mando on Mando, like, destruction.
Yeah, or don't let them see that they can actually take their helmets off and it's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's very interesting. And that's another reason why I wonder if you're right, if Dindjarin ends up taking his helmet off in the next episode, will he still feel that same pull to put it back on after now that he's sworn allegiance?
With this villain who's taking it over.
Yeah,
I think he'll be like, no, this is fated. I'm going to take you down, and I'm going to redeem Mandalore itself, the entire planet.
Yeah,
I don't think
think about his speech to Bo-Katan, right? Saying it's not about this is all I know, but you are a Mandalorian. It's about honor, right? Like he you could see him in his own speech to Bo-Katan,
right, reassessing
what it means to be a Mandalorian.
All right, at the end of all of this,
good point.
Bo-Katan and Din, does one live and one die?
There's really
just
a part of me
wondering.
Wonders.
Just wondering.
I don't know, but there's a part of me.
Is there a tragedy here? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, do you do something really gutsy or ballsy like season 1 of Game of Thrones or book 1 of Game of Thrones, and does Dindjarin not make it out really? I doubt it, but you could do it, man.
That shadow is in my head, but I really hope they don't do it.
Like those two have to make it because you love them as the audience, and it's like. But as a storyteller, do you want to craft a tragedy or an opera of some grandiose scale? Like, do you want to have one of them go, but it's like this big moment and for a major reason?
If the role he is serving is now the mentor and teacher of Grogu, Mentors and teachers do not fare well in the Star Wars universe.
That's a really valid point.
I'm trying to look at it, think of every example of it, and
Yep, all of them.
They all
Yeah.
die.
Obi-Wan, Yoda,
Luke.
Luke,
Luke.
Qui-Gon
Han.
Jinn.
Even Han, if you think about it, from like episode 7. Like,
that ending.
Oh wait,
Leia. Leia.
Tobias Beckett.
Yeah. Yep.
What the teacher?
Yeah, name one that lives. Yeah.
Oh,
I've not thought about that.
oh my
Sorry,
gosh.
sorry.
Wait, no, we can do more. From Rogue One, Cassian Andor,
Yeah, Cassian. I mean, everyone, but yeah.
Saw
especially Cassian.
Gerrera.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera's gone. Yeah.
Caleb Doom, aka Kanan Jarrus.
No, right. Good call. He's gone. Yeah.
Luthen's still in there though, guys.
Luthen Rail's still alive.
I mean,
for now.
so far, but we're between seasons.
But
he's not making
He
it
spent
out.
his last monologue
Let's be
telling
realistic.
everyone how he's about to die. Like,
Oh yeah, that's
Right.
right. His
That's
life's
right.
miserable. That's right.
Yeah.
he's already
lost.
dead,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
He communes with ghosts.
Yeah.
He shares his
I mean,
dreams with ghosts.
Anakin dies, right? If they get from him as Ahsoka's teacher.
Leia Skywalker. I mean, everyone dies eventually. Like, we're talking about entire lifetimes here, but yeah.
Yeah, but it always seems connected to when they become a mentor.
Yeah.
Not that protocol droid on Navarro. He's safe, or she's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The protocol droid on Navarro.
Yeah, the one that's always telling
Grief Karga?
Grief Karga the obvious thing.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, isn't there a teacher one though too? That's
Oh, the
like-
teacher droid.
Oh, the teacher one.
I don't know.
Right,
They
right,
might have
good
gotten
call.
wiped out by the pirates.
Yeah, might have gotten taken out.
That's true.
Oh, gosh. Wow, this really took a dark turn.
Sorry, guys.
No, I just, all right, so I'm going to bring it back around. That was amazing. But I think dollars and cents, you don't kill Dindjarin.
Yeah, I think that.
I think
that's a
you
good call.
lose viewers if you kill Dindjarin.
Din and Grogu, wandering
Yeah,
warriors
forever.
at the end.
Forever.
Yeah, forever. That would be
Yeah.
great. That would be the ideal ending for me as a
Yeah.
fan. But
I entirely agree with that, and I also want Dindjarin to be the Mandalorian.
you know what? I don't even mind if Din goes back to that planet that's in the first Bryce Dallas Howard episode. What was it
Oh
called?
yeah.
Yeah, I forget what it was
Oh,
called. But,
okay.
that planet and settles
Yeah.
down. Like
Yeah,
that's
right.
almost like the ending. That would be the perfect ending for me. I'd be like, perfect. They're safe.
Right, the Seven Samurai.
They're safe.
planet.
They're happy.
Yeah.
They're hanging out. Yeah.
Do we know who's directing next episode?
Isn't it Rick Famuyiwa doing
Yeah,
both?
I think he's
think
doing
so,
both.
right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did the first
Oh,
two
boy.
and the last two, I think,
Yeah,
or the first one and the last two.
and it is in good hands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be a
Directing, I'll have an
monster episode.
Yeah.
If he who better to do the Thrawn reveal? I'm just gonna throw that out there. Who
Yeah.
better?
Agreed.
Who better?
Um,
Who better?
I think Filoni's going to do the Thrawn reveal in Ahsoka.
I mean, you got to
But-
set
but,
up
like,
the
you gotta
next
tease it.
thing.
You gotta
You got to set
tease
the
it.
next thing, and the next thing is Ahsoka.
You guys are talking. You guys are thinking like Marvel comic books fans right now. Like I think like it's
Precedent
yes, it's a
has been
trope
set.
that
A
exists.
precedent
Again,
has been set.
Yes,
let's
Genre.
talk
by
about
other
the
media that's
last-
not mythological.
Let's talk about the last two seasons of the Mandoverse.
2 decades of
So season 2 of the Mando ends with an after credit crawl setting up Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett takes an entire episode and a half in the middle of the season to set up season 3 of the Mandalorian.
Right.
How is this not going to set up the next thing in the Mandoverse,
But
which
like
is Ahsoka?
Boba Fett was also like a big part of that second season. You know, like he wasn't just hinted at there, and so was Ahsoka. Like they were rolled out. They wasn't like little tiny like Marvel cameos. It was like bang, they're a part of the series. And I mean, granted, you could say, well, they've mentioned Thrawn enough at this point, but
I mean, they
they
said
really
Thrawn
haven't.
a lot in this episode.
but this is the first one.
There's
This is
like
the first
10
one of the
Thrawn.
season they were talking about Thrawn.
Yeah. And boy, did they try to make up for not saying it all season long. Thrawn.
I'm saying now I'm
Thrawn.
more convinced about that.
I know,
I'm less
that's
convinced
great.
about the armor not being a spy, but I'm more convinced about Thrawn
Man,
not showing up.
next week's going to be
week.
real rough for you when she turns out to be evil and they reveal Thrawn. You're going to be so wrong.
Shots
next
fired.
week.
Adam is throwing down. I'm a little hesitant to be.
Now I wanna
as
make it
certain
interesting.
as Adam, I don't know if
I
I have that
am
level of
too, but
certainty.
I'm just having fun now.
All right.
Just being
Okay,
real.
yeah. I love this.
All right, loser has to go to
Dominance.
Treehouse and bring back a 2 4-packs of Julius from
right.
there.
Dude, Yeah, it just makes me think like I gotta throw out something random, like you're gonna see Leia in this next episode or something. But,
Yeah, right. It's gonna be a
like I don't know.
it's gonna be a
Gotta something
misdirect.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be massive. But I mean, obviously,
whatever it
I mean, cultural appropriation is a thing that I never really understood how scarring it is until I saw, which is sad and pathetic, I know, but until I saw this cultural appropriation. He's essentially like Gideon's like, oh yeah, all that stuff. Remember when I like committed genocide against your people? I like your armor. I'm gonna put that on.
Yeah.
And wear it.
So it's like about your.
I'm gonna defeat you and wear your
I also have
skins.
this message.
Yeah, it's real rough just thinking about that. How horrible that must be for the Mandalorians to see that.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh yeah, what a violation.
Yeah,
It's
terrible. I mean, do we want to talk about Moff Gideon's armor more? I mean, clearly he had a crown on top of his head, guys, and not why it doesn't make any sense why he would have maul spikes, like, it doesn't. That doesn't make any sense.
If it was not
He's a guy who got
not,
the Darksaber and was like, I gotta fulfill the brand requirements here. It's like I need all
the things.
a black crown. I need
and
like,
the Darksaber.
haven't you ever ordered something specially made and like whoever made it for you did their own little touch to it, and you're just like, okay, I get what you do. I get it. It's not really what I asked for, but it's fine. It still fits.
The armor looks cheap. I'm going to say that too. Like on the other people, like they don't really have shoulder pauldrons. They just have these little tiny, shoulder pads on there.
Talking about jet troopers now?
Yeah,
I won't take that slander.
The jet troopers, like their whole upper forearm is like bare.
See, I think it's leaning towards the sort of Apple, sort of sleek, curved edges design of the sequel trilogy with those jet troopers.
The First Order.
But I actually like it. I don't really like the stormtrooper of the sequel trilogy or like the Sith trooper of the sequel trilogy.
But you like
I kind of
these?
like. And I do like the jet troopers of the sequel trilogy. I think those look that armor looks quite good. But I liked these. I think it was because it's trying to mimic the culture. And I think if we're going to introduce Thrawn and talk about, all these different cultures of the different, species around the galaxy, I think Gideon should have Gideon should tease us in the direction of a sort of like sleuth mastermind like Thrawn. But like, he's kind of like the light. He's light Thrawn, right?
Yeah,
like
he's pretty
Thrawn.
good tactician, though. I mean, if he was the one that coordinated that attack on Bo-Katan in her castle. Also, how did he know Bo-Katan was in that castle? Like, who orchestrated that bombing of her place? Or they just got chased out of Mandalore, though, right? So maybe they just saw a ship over Mandalore and started chasing it. The TIE interceptors?
Yeah.
What if Thrawn destroyed Bo's castle to sort of trigger this response?
Well, that was my first thought.
And have them go seek out Mandalore.
That was my first thought, that that was them being pushed out to start this like series of events.
Because Gideon feels like he's being informed about them for the first time in a while in this episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just my sense.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I mean, I love the idea of Thrawn sort of making moves without Gideon's knowledge to manipulate Gideon, and like Gideon finds out, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm a pawn of this guy's game that I don't even know.
Right.
He hasn't even seen him, right?
Exactly.
And he's like, yes, it's all going exactly according to my plan.
Which is how you get Gideon to kneel down to Thrawn, right? To just be so impressed by the maneuvering.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the TIE Advance was like another architect's design that Thrawn liked or something like that and wanted to promote. If Gideon's trying to create these Beskar Dark Troopers, maybe Thrawn's like, hey, I'll take those and give you and like take the technology away. Like basically, I'm going to take the cutting edge technology and then I'm going to leave. Like that's
I'm
Thrawn's.
wondering if that's the Thrawn reveal. Is Thrawn's reveal is actually his destruction or killing of Moff Gideon to be like, of just being to consolidate power. Basically, you are not doing what needs to be done or according to my plans. You're just too much of a nuisance at this point.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised the first time we see Thrawn is like a ship just crashes into nothingness in space, and it's like a cloaking device or something. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he's like here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Were
you guys expecting when the armor was flying back up to just watch all the Mandalorian ships to get just blown out of space? Like I was just waiting for that to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what? They got the same
exact same vibe.
All of us. Yeah.
exact same
because
vibe.
they were beats and was like, oh, they're like, why did they even show it if they wasn't gonna get attacked? But
the camera even hangs on the armor in that moment,
Yeah.
like going back to the fleet, and I was like,
oh, like she's
is
gonna
this
get blown
part
out of
of
the
some
sky.
larger orchestrated plan? Like to me, it would be so interesting if there's something else going on in this season, which is like, I feel like we're really going after character motivations and a lot of zigs and zags in the storytelling, but I'm like, maybe there's something else on the exterior of this story that's going to be explained later. That's going to be, oh, okay, that's why all these larger story beats actually make sense now. It's like, oh, okay. Someone was pushing them off Kavala to go explore Mandalore and push them towards taking down Gideon. So Thrawn could be like, oh, I have like this, I have the Mandalorians who are they'll fight back against Gideon, and then I'll just add my forces into the mix after they've wounded him or injured him or decimated his forces. And that's total Thrawn strategy at that point.
That really is.
And and it has to be that level of just like, oh my, like Gideon absolutely thinking he's totally in control the whole time, and then it's just like pwned. You just got to own it.
Yeah. I can't wait. I think that's where the storytelling really has to, I think, connect. Yeah. And we'll see. We'll see I hope it's like you're just grinning because you're loving the sort of like masterful sort of the tactician that's happening, the tactics work that's happening. I hope you'll just really be like astonished by what Thrawn's able to accomplish. You're like, wow, he was able to like talk to these people, talk to all these different parties, and basically have them agree on certain things, and all those things all those moving pieces come together. Yeah, that's kind of what Thrawn is in a lot of ways.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
just pieces on a board for him.
It's only Zahn. I've only seen Zahn do it. Like, it's hard to do.
Yeah, it would be an accomplishment if Filoni and Favreau were able to pull it off. But this, this one quote that I pulled from them about them consulting was very coy. It was just like, yeah, we consulted with him, but it wasn't like, oh, he's part of our team and he's working on every step of the thing, which is what I expected to him be in the room, like be a producer, like executive producer essentially for some of these, or a co-writing credit or something, because you like only one guy can do it. Like Timothy Zahn read like thousands of pages of like naval textbooks to get Thrawn's characters right. Like that's not hyperbole. That's like real talk. And I mean, and no one, Filoni's not doing that. Favreau's not doing that.
No.
Like, you need to bring in the guy to tell Thrawn.
It almost beckons like if not executive producer credit, like almost like a special thanks, like a big,
I was gonna say
special thanks to Timothy Zahn for and this entire mythos. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I want to see is because this is a big pet peeve of mine. A lot of people read comics, is that when you see characters in movies that were created, they've gotten a lot better at this, but like, for how long it took them to start crediting Bob Kane and Bill Finger for Batman is shameful. Yeah. And so it's to the point where it got to, the reason they do is because of lawsuits. But I really, really hope that they just say Thrawn, based on characters created by Timothy, like Thrawn created by Timothy Zahn. Like, just give him the creation by, like,
well, they credit George
very least. Created by Timothy Zahn.
Yeah.
Like, at some point in the credits, you're like, whoa, cool. That's great.
They credit George Lucas with every show. Every episode they say based on story created by George Lucas
and Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Bang, and Timothy Zahn.
Bang,
right there. Yeah. That page. Put their names together because they deserve it.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be great. It puts them in the same tier of just excellence. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
or maybe the next page, whatever.
Where are we now in the story? Are we at? Are we finished?
I think we've kind of done it, man. I mean, there's other things if you want to get into. Yeah, I mean, Dr. Pershing. They left the door open for him to come back, right? So
sure,
like you guys did call about that. You're like, oh, I'm not done with Pershing, and I did think he was kind of done, but they left the door
mad
open.
Scientist. It's kind of a trope. I think it might be a trope. Yeah. Like, think about the trope of what he represents in the story, and I'm almost certain he's going to fulfill that.
Yeah. He's going to be real damaged and still working.
He's going to be like, this crazy clone is cool, right? And they're like, I don't know, sick it on the Mandalorians.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think that's why. I think that's the beauty of it, is the reason why we get Snoke is because they fried his brain, right? Like, he would have been able to make a perfect clone of Palpatine if they didn't, fry him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we can get the Grogu DNA into something, but it's gonna be ravaged. Like, it's gonna look.
Yeah.
It's good. It's not going to be malformed.
That's a thing though. Like we did, I guess so. That's it. I guess he did announce it. He's like, he's going to make Sith troopers, but it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe those are the
boy.
people in Exegol that are like wearing the cloaks or whatever, because they're all ravaged and look terrible.
Yeah. So Alien 4 is a very bad movie. But there's a scene they bring, but spoiler alert, they bring Ripley back through cloning, and there's an amazing scene where she goes in like and sees just all of the previous clone versions of herself, and it's really upsetting. It's a really upsetting scene. You know, greatly, like a wonderfully done upsetting scene. And just to watch like Grogu walk through, like, or then walk through, like, just seeing deformed Grogu clones would just be, they would never do it, but it'd just be like, oh boy. Oof.
Yeah, that would be rugged. That'd be pretty rugged.
Yeah. I said it. Please don't do it.
Yeah.
I take it back. I take it all back.
Oh my God.
I do think Grogu might be in danger, though.
Yeah. I definitely
like,
think
I am worried about this.
Yeah. I think I'm worried about
all the battlefronts, and I'm just like, can we just
why are you bringing the
leave him
baby?
a brief?
Yeah.
He seems to be happy with the Anzellans. Like, I don't get
it's just his obsession about him being a Mandalorian, right? Yeah. This is what you do with Mandalorian kids.
He's a foundling. You're in. We're counting you in, kid.
I know. I just, part of me wonders if that's not how the cliffhanger of the season ends.
Yeah.
Is the I don't want to label it a problem, but is there like almost like a tonal dissonance when it's just like we're going on all these crazy sort of, adventures, but you're a baby.
Yeah.
But I think
almost this moment, it's like he turns and talks to him, and you're like, Grogu is like very fragile. I feel like if something happens, like he might just he gets swallowed immediately by any creature.
Yep. So two things happen this season I think is interesting, which are completely kind of disconnected. But I think one of the things they're doing is they're upping his force abilities to kind of maybe make you feel more comfortable that he has control over the force, can protect himself. Then in this episode, they double down on him being a toddler with the yes/no thing.
Yeah.
And like grabbing fruit and stuff, where I'm like, oh no, he literally is just a 2-year-old, and now you just have a 2-year-old in like a battle and saying like, are you okay? I'm like, no, he's not okay.
He's a 2-year-old.
He's 2.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is like he doesn't want to be apart from Din, and Din is like, well, if you're going to be with me, you're going to be a Mandalorian. He chose the way. He could be chilling with Luke Skywalker right now.
Yep. No, it's as much as I feel that way. It's just like
that
it's also
episode is great, by the way.
It's a baby space wizard. Yeah. It's fantasy. I just get over it real quick.
Like that episode of Book of Boba Fett. This episode was it 6 or 7, whatever that one is, where he's training with Luke.
I think it's 7. Yeah.
That might be. That's my favorite episode.
A lot of Yoda talk in that episode.
Disney Plus streaming. I love that episode.
I mean, it's one of the best episodes of Mandalorian. It really is. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. Is that a bench? And the droids just like start building a bench.
Right.
It's like
I forgot about that.
So good.
Oh man.
And then just sitting and like looking at the temple and like Ahsoka appearing and being like, it's a temple. Like where many students will like learn to be Jedi someday. I was like, this is so epic. This is like lore.
Yeah.
This is what I care about.
Yeah, I mean that alone ties it to the sequel trilogy right there. That was so great. But he's like,
well, that Luke got droids to build the temple, basically.
Yeah. Don't you think Rey? Or we're like almost dismounted and like doing the next segment.
I know,
but
some
like
people like High Republic here.
But don't you wonder if Rey builds her new Jedi Order on the same planet to fulfill that prophecy of Luke saying many people will become Jedi here? Anyway,
like it.
Just a thought.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm wondering if no, they wouldn't do Tython and then Tython. But they could
maybe.
do that.
No, they're interconnecting everything, so I wouldn't put it past.
I think Rey should go to Dantooine. I want Star Wars to get weird.
Yeah, agreed.
I want Dantooine.
Right.
I want to go back and be like, the Jedi were chill when they were on Dantooine. They lived in like big stone spheres with like bonsai trees. It was cool.
That'd be sweet.
It wasn't like, I don't know, all ornate. Sort of
have Rey get all Frank Lloyd Wright on him.
Just get real like minimal.
Yeah.
Modern mid
mod. That'd be great. All right, hey, this episode's amazing. Next week we'll probably talk ad infinitum about the only thing we have planned is the finale for Mandalorian. So we'll wrap up all our thoughts there, and I'll dance on your graves on 2 theories, and it'll be a lot of fun. But for now, we have got a little bit of Kyber Crystal Comics Corner.
Kyber Crystal Comics Corner!
Alrighty, right. Either you guys do. So this is going to be The Blade. We're going to cover all 4 issues of The Blade. It's a nice, concise little run here for the High Republic about Porter Engle, who is the Blade in Phase 2 era. So way back in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah,
in the way back. The way back.
Yeah. Sick comic, and I think Grant, you've got another little synopsis here, doing the hard work for us all.
This is quite possibly the most incredible Star Wars comic ever.
Charles Soule, baby.
Like I absolutely adore this comic. Yeah, this is Charles Soule. This is The Blade, set in the era of the High Republic, where much of the frontier remains unexplored. 2 of the most prolific Jedi of their generation, Porter Engle and Barish Sylvan, answer a petition to break a siege on a remote world of Gansevoor. Once on the planet, the Jedi travel to the besieged fortress of Firevale and meet with both the leaders of Firevale and Bethune, and discover the conflict began when the Princess Sakatra traveled to Firevale for reasons that aren't entirely clear at first. The Bethune say she was kidnapped, while Prince Colden of Firevale, madly in love with Princess Sakatra, says she sought asylum in Firevale and came on her own volition. Barish struggles to grasp the truth of the matter, but eventually sides with the prince and princess because of her sympathy for Sakatra's pregnancy. When General Weiss and the mercenaries hired by the Bethune betray Marshal Tozin in favor of laying waste to the city and pillaging what they can, Princess Sakatra feels guilty for all the chaos and confesses the pregnancy was a lie. Ashamed that she let her sympathy get the best of her, Barish decides to exile herself from the Order and sadly leave her brother Porter.
Taking a vow, if you will.
Forever. Yeah.
yeah.
Very good, Grant. Thank you very much for pulling those all together. Grant, I know Porter Engle from the moment he touched I think the first book, you were in love with this character, right?
Well, to me, I love Porter Engle, and I love cooking soup. I love a warm broth.
Yeah.
I love saber fights. I love the lightsaber. I love his mantra on the Force, where he's like, "The Force gives me speed. The Force gives me strength." I was like, if I see that in a movie, I am revving my fist. Anyways, that character is incredible. But this was the Barish Sylvan sort of story for me.
Right.
This was a lot about his sister, this sort of like sister monk in the Order, who I guess was his counterpart, sort of sibling like Jedi friend, who they just traveled the galaxy together as pathfinder, and I guess like on the frontier and sort of like Jedi peacekeepers, and they solved all sorts of petitions on unsettled worlds. So cool to see that frontier office, the Jedi Frontier Office or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And they talk to a droid who's like, there's 201 petitions on unsettled sectors, and like you could like select whatever job you wanted to do. I was like, oh, this is the game Ben wants to play.
Absolutely. If you need me, I'll be in that place.
I was like the Jedi Frontier, like Jedi : Frontier.
And I want 200 missions. I want 200 of them. And I'll be like, yep.
Yeah, you want 201 petitions.
Yeah, I'm like, should we just do this alpha, or like, okay. Alpha order, or I'll spend 5 days reading all of the petitions and being like, let me order them, and then okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a great meditation on attachment, I thought.
Yes, I'd love to talk about the flashbacks first.
Connection and attachment.
Yeah.
Yes, flashback.
Yeah, that's a good.
I think it's
the sort of brother and sister relationship between Porter and Bear.
Yeah. I mean, so they met as creche mates essentially, and we didn't get any of their apprenticeships and stuff, but they were both like very gifted, Padawans. And Porter Engle with the blade, and then Barish. Barash. Yeah.
The Barish vow.
Barish vow, which is, of course, that's what the we'll talk more about the Barish vow later.
Oh yeah.
But, she's telling otherwise in sensitivity and reading emotions and sensing these things, and they were attached from an early age. And then I love that they were just, and then they were ultimately, people were worried about them becoming too attached because we know how, the Jedi feel about attachment. And they were separated, and so they decided to sabotage the system, which I'm not sure how that worked. Yeah. But they were like, oh, yeah, I just can't do anything without my friend. And they ultimately put them back together again, which is just a while.
Well, I think they did spend some time apart, and then they came back together, and it was like no time passed. They were like, okay, we're back together. Yeah. Let's hang tight. Let's get back in the pocket.
Yeah, but it was mission accomplished. They didn't cover any of the stuff in between, but they were like, let's just sabotage the system and try and convince our elders that we can't operate without each other, and that's how we'll stay together. And it worked, which is like, oh man, the High Republic is so flawed.
They work well together because she's kind of the empath, and he's the the swordsman or something.
Yeah.
The offense. She's the investigator.
Yeah, and he's an elite swordsman. Elite, and
elite, like doesn't need to hold the lightsaber
to defeat you. Yeah.
Also, just like teleports behind you and will have his saber around your neck. Yeah. Like.
He's got one he uses.
I guess he's the greatest lightsaber duelist of all time.
Of all time,
I don't know.
Great lightsaber design too for his primary.
The lightsaber design is my favorite ever.
It's almost like a rapier. But like it's cooler. And then he's just got like a spare up his sleeve that no one sees, and just like a standard jammy jam that he always has, on backup. Amazing. And I love there was a scene where he runs across another Jedi and I think, I don't know, are they Pathfinders? Wayfinder?
Yeah, they're Pathfinders. They're Jedi Pathfinders.
Right. That's why. Pathfinders. Yeah. And then, with some people, they're setting up communication nodes, and they hitch a ride.
I want to say his name was like Helion Voltes or something.
Yes.
That's what I want to say.
No, I think that's dead on, man.
Yeah, I think so.
He was, I don't know if he was a nautolan.
Oh yeah, that species is so cool.
Yeah, it's like a nautolan. He was green and had a lot of head tendrils.
Not nautolan.
It's something else, but maybe it's a version of Lula Talisova's like character.
Yeah, one of the characters,
but like green instead of pink. So
exactly. That's exactly.
Yeah,
but it's not Lula Talisova's. Her name's something else.
So but the scene where he was like, "I'm sorry, did you say your name's Porter Engle?" And like immediately pulls out his lightsaber and he's like, "Let's like spar." And but he was.
They're like, the blade is here.
Yeah. Oh, the blade. But he was just like, and Porter Engle's like, he's like, wait, you're Porter Engle? And Porter Engle's like, why do you ask? And Barris is like, you know exactly why he asked.
Yeah. That relationship was so good. Yeah.
It's so funny. That was a great bit. And obviously he does this magic trick where it's like, oh, you thought I was in front of you, but now I'm not holding my lightsaber, but my lightsaber's still fending you off. And then, oops, my other lightsaber's at your throat. And I was like, well, I mean, that's kind of cheap, but okay, I guess it's a little showmanship for the kids. But it was fun. He was a fun character.
There's so many good lines in the comics. Obviously, the one I sent you guys where he's like, no one tries to kill a Jedi twice. And then like she's like, they just tried to kill you twice.
Yeah.
Wait, there's one moment where I think the mercenaries are shooting at Porter Engle, and they're like, Jedi die, I swear, Jedi die. I've seen them die. First, they're just like unloading, and I was like, this is dark. These lines are dark, but it's like also like it's funny, given that it's
most Jedi do die. We've seen, Order 66. He would have shrugged off like the common cold. Like it was like he doesn't worry about it. He throws himself in
game. Anakin would have met with his match.
Oh, no, yeah, dude, Mace Windu would have been met his match. Like, there's no one. Yoda wouldn't have had anything on this guy. He's nasty.
Yeah, Mace destroyed everyone if he didn't get the cheap shot. That was rough.
Yeah. So
that's why you want to see like Mace Windu Unleashed. Like that's the alternate history.
Yeah.
Right? Alternate history, like Mace Windu Unleashed, where he just takes out Sidious.
I know. That's why the Tartakovsky animations will always be like permanently in my heart, because you see like Full Metal Mace Windu in those.
He goes full.
Yeah, he takes out like a whole droid army by himself, and it like and does it with class. That was amazing. I would have liked to see some more of that in live action, but it was still the 90s, so What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Anyways, the siege's happening. That General Vice, that character, that was cool. I guess she says she's a Jedi hunter.
Yep, she has a Beskar spear.
That's right. Yeah.
So she's able to fight. But again, it played out exactly how it was. It was like there was all this like pomp and circumstance leading up to Porter Engle fighting General Vice, which is like she's brought in to be. She's like it talks all this trash about being a Jedi hunter, and in like
pulls out rocket launchers.
Oh my god! And in 3 panels, he disarms her, and she's just like doesn't. She hasn't even swung her blade yet, and the fight's over.
Oh, yeah. That's where he like teleports behind her and cuts her cheek like an anime, and it's like, wow, okay, this guy's fast.
It's kind of great. Like that's not the question of the series, right? The blade is not in question, really. It's just like that name is
it's everything.
Is solid.
Yeah. He's got a way to go.
What did you guys think about like the tragic message of the Barish story with the prince and the princess and sort of their deceit and.
I thought she was.
And then her being like, "Wow, I sympathize with you guys as sort of this loving couple with a newborn on the way, and the child would be affected by this sort of like, dinosauric sort of like antiquated rival tribalism."
Yeah, it was kind of a beautiful. In a bad way story, but like I agree with Ben. It felt like a little hard herself
because it's like you can't have it both ways.
A bit of trying to back your way into explaining.
Yeah, sorry, you cut out for a minute. I thought you had stopped. You kind of can't have it both ways. Like the story is about how important attachment is to Jedi and how valuable attachment can be, and then she sympathizes with some people. She gets it wrong because they were being nefarious and were lying. But like she's still like her compassion is her strength, and now she's like I can't trust my compassion anymore. I need to go think about things, and so it's kind of telling 2 stories that are moving in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This might be a good place to start, but it feels like Sewell thoughtfully trying to kind of back his way into explaining what the Barish vow is and the origins of that, which
So let's talk about the Barish vow.
Right, the Barish vow.
So
let's go to Vader series, like
early Vader, way early Sewell Vader, right?
Yeah, I believe so. It's Vader. Yeah, it's the 2017 Vader run,
which is great. I've got them all in like those big compendiums, digitally, and I read. That's the one that I go back to over and over again because it's so amazing. It's like the origins of Anakin Skywalker as Vader, trying out his new suit and going through this gauntlet of challenges, from Palpatine to sort of get him into Sith shape. And so this first thing he has to take a lightsaber from a Jedi and bleed the crystal red, right? So he attacks a gentleman who has taken the Barish vow and has just studied fighting his whole life on a planet in hiding. And
Kirak,
it looks awesome.
Infiai, I think his name is. If I remember. Yeah.
But then you're like, what is the Barish vow? And I guess it's like when a Jedi goes into exile.
Yeah, basically.
But it's on specific terms, right? It's like they totally leave the order, like altogether.
Yeah, it's basically completely refrain from all activities related to the Jedi Order.
Yeah,
is how they define it, and disengage from anything but the Force itself.
Right. I sort of look at it as a sabbatical. It's like an unlimited sabbatical. Like take the time you need to figure out your craft and where you're really headed, and but it's also it's meditation. It's trying to figure out your place in the universe. It's an awesome concept.
And what's really interesting is if you look on Wikipedia, they have 3 examples of this happening. Well, 4 happening in Star Wars, which is the original, which we've just discussed with Barish, and then the one from Darth Vader, which we discussed, and then we get from the Phase 1 of High Republic. Des Ryden takes it after basically being a prisoner and being and then interacting with the dindjarin. Now, we can come back around to that, but the most interesting one that's noted is Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine.
They call that a bearish vow?
They do, and what I'm really interested in is I have a book that I haven't read by it's by Christian Baver, but it's The Skywalker: A Family at War, which is a really cool book. It's actually kind of written like an in-universe history of the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
So I don't know for certain because there's not a page number quote, which is, by the way, bad way to be actually citing your sources.
It's
people.
Wikipedia, Adam.
Yeah, well, I know I'm an academic. You cite your sources correctly, people.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. Go clean it up. Go clean up the Wikipedia.
But there's a page number, and then what
there's no page number. So I was while you guys were talking, you probably saw me in the background, like just scoot over to my bookcase.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if that is officially name checked in this. It definitely could be because it's post 2017. So I was just kind of looking at the chapters and seeing if I could find where they discuss Obi-Wan, but it's such a big book that it could really be anywhere in here.
Yeah.
But I need to go back and see.
I wouldn't.
It fits a little bit. I mean, I would call that exile. I mean, he called
He's
it
like,
exile.
I'm going to go chop up this desert tuna.
It kind of works though in the show, and this is pre when the show happened. But if you remember the show, he's doing exactly that. He's not doing anything.
But he's
Jedi-like.
But he's not even communing with the Force to begin.
That
with.
is true too. I mean, he's trying to talk to
Qui-Gon, but
yeah.
I mean, I would say his real bearish vow probably started after the live action series. That's when he embraced the Force again, and now is But maybe by then he's found his purpose. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's really interesting. That's a good reading of it, though. I like that. That's where it really begins. Yeah.
I don't know, because I think you still need to commune with the Force. That's the whole point, is trying to listen to the Force to hear what it tells you to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's fine. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
You don't sound convinced, Grant.
No, I mean, it's fine. I'm just
saying,
Obi-Wan just went into exile, period.
Yeah.
He just went.
I mean, there also wasn't much Jedi stuff to do.
Yeah,
well, he did get psyched when Luke came to him and was ready to become a Jedi. He was like, "Here's your father's weapons. I'm grabbing mine. Let's go."
Immediately.
That's where the vow ended.
I'm a Jedi
yes,
now.
You can come out of the bearish vow as well. You can come back into the fold. And if I'm not mistaken, I think in the Vader comic, that Jedi fights with the sabers and fights Vader.
Yeah, and when he thought he defeated Vader, he was like, "All right, I'm out of here. My bearish vow's over. I've fulfilled my mission.
I broke it."
Yeah. I fulfilled my mission. This is why I was here, and I'm back in the fold. And it was like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
because Vader's too hot.
Fighting Darth
yeah,
Vader.
because Vader's too metal.
Yeah, where is the? Yeah, I don't know. If Hayden Christensen comes back as Vader, now I need the Metal Vader series where he's not just taking out townspeople, but he's actually doing cool stuff in battles and
destroying half his body and rebuilding out of found objects.
Wolverine.
Yeah, wearing pelts and stuff. I don't know.
That can only happen in the comics. Metal Vader comics.
Yeah, well,
you'll never get a series, and the animated would be great.
Yeah, most of that Vader series, well, especially their first Vader series, is metal as AF. Pretty great. But
anyways, the end of this series, I guess Barish puts too much confidence in the prince and princess, and they lie to her, and she feels bad. Takes the vow, leaves the order, leaves Porter behind. And then the next series is going to be called The Broken
Blade, right?
Yeah, The Broken Blade.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see the next phase for him.
We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, bummer, man. And I feel I don't remember. So it was the first book, right? Light of the Jedi. That was also a Sewell book, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Where Porter Engel was in it, and I feel like he was still sort of mourning Barish. I mean, they established early that Barish is a Kage. Kage is what I assume.
Very cool species. Yeah, with green eyes, bright
green eyes and white everything, like albino, pretty much. Other than that,
Silver hair.
yeah, silver hair, just like beautiful. And that it was cool little twist where they're like, oh yeah, my species, like we remember everything from birth, which is like bonkers.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Weird. And then, yeah.
Porter's Ikrukian.
Oh, thank you.
He can live for hundreds of years, and she's like,
sooner or later.
Your yeah, you live for a long time. I'm only here for a short amount of time.
Yeah, pretty cool. The Ikrukian, like, it's wild. I was like, doesn't he look like Hellboy to you? I'm not even a comic book guy.
No, definitely very Hellboy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I expected to see his earlier self with horns, like I didn't understand. He has these two stumps on his like forehead, and they're disconcerting to me because all I can think of is Hellboy. But I'm like, shouldn't those be horns or something? But all right, whatever.
They do very much look like Hellboy's, like shaved down.
Yeah, horns.
Yeah,
right.
Totally. Good call.
Anywho, yeah, he
such a good comic.
Good comic, great character.
Probably my favorite of the.
It's really great, yeah. And once again, 4 issues was perfect. Like I like that they will mess around with the lengths of these, depending on what it needs to say, what it needs to tell.
Darn right. Well, okay. I feel like we've gotten there. More High Republic to come, but next week, most importantly, we're gonna get the Mandalorian finale, which is gonna be bonkers. I can't wait to A, watch it, and B, talk to y'all about it. If you're on, we don't really know when we're gonna do the pod yet, but please follow us on on all the things. Give us 5 stars, por favor. That's French for please.
Not really. It's
Italian?
Right. It's okay.
Close.
Danish?
Closer. Weirdly closer. Oh, further away.
Spanish. If you could do that, that would be super. And also, if you follow us on YouTube, you'll get a little alert when we go live. We're trying to do this regularly, but you know what? We're doing our best, and that doesn't seem to happen with schedules. But we'll probably do it as close to Wednesday as we can. And tune in, chime in, talk to us. How are you feeling? What did you see?
If you want 500 more theories on the armor,
I think we will. I don't think we're gonna need any theories after next week. But so
you can never take the armor from me.
Nah.
We're ending it just.
I will. But the other thing is just to remind everyone that the week after that is going to be Jedi Survivor week, and is that right? And we're gonna also read the Battle Scars book for that. So
man, I'm gonna burn through that game in
I know
1.5 days.
I know. Right. Grant's that guy that races through the story just to say he's done the whole game, and then he goes back.
Grant and I are like polar opposites with video games. Like I want to do everything but the story in a video game, but for this one I will focus on the game, on the story.
I need to investigate every blade of grass in the game.
Yeah.
And then and like not move past like I just systematically close down as much as I can.
I'm the same way. I'm all
you do like CSI grid search.
I do. Actually,
I'm all
that's exactly
side.
what I do.
I'm all side missions first, because then when you play the main missions, they're like it's like playing a child's game at that point, because you're all OP.
You just crush everyone. I'm trying to do some Grandmaster work on Fallen Order to like get myself into shape, but that game is hard.
Oh, nice. It's real hard. I forgot how hard it was. Yeah, I just thinking back to it.
Anyone can destroy you. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do you even supposed to like block? Like, it's hard.
I remember how I don't know how many times, but that Dark Jedi fight. Like that one, that might have been like 50 times I had to attempt that, because I was not powerful.
Wait, Malicos or
Malicos?
15,
I think. Yeah.
14.
He had my number. Like no one else. But that one was just so infuriating to me that I just.
They got shredded.
That was one I could not quite do. I gave up. I went to sleep, and I woke up at like 5 a.m. and my brain had like clicked, and I went and beat it. Like, do you ever do that with video games?
Absolutely. You gotta walk away. You gotta walk away after a while.
And like your brain solves it in sleep. Like the brain figured out the pattern in the sleep. And I was like, and then I just like, they one try conquered it at 5 a.m.
That's how I beat Gana and Give Me God of War on God of War Ragnarok. For those that care. That's like I needed to walk away twice. Twice I needed to walk away, and the third day I came back. I was like,
the dog on a walk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, your brain has got to be like, okay, it's this move, it's this move, it's this move. Oh wait, if I do this, it's this move. It's all just figuring it out in the counters, but the counters are hard and for some reason harder.
They're tough. Yeah. They're real precise. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, it's super. Everything's super. So that's what we're doing next week. It's been a long pod. We appreciate you guys listening to us, and we'll see you next week. Appreciate you. And as always, may the force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.